don't know, it felt like oneness, but not oneness in the sense that you disappear. It felt like I could connect with everything. It felt like everything was there and I was there and I was a part of everything. It's very hard to explain. Or
All right, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Prajna Avalon, and this is your superior self.
Prajna, thank you for taking the time to come on the show. This is going to be amazing. And I know you're on a retreat. I know you're in the mountains. I'm
Yeah.
very surprised that you have internet connection right now. So that's a plus. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Yeah, I'm surprised too. I was crossing my fingers the whole time. So I'm good. I'm actually, it's an amazing retreat. So I'm feeling quite relaxed and connected. So it's really nice.
Oh, I'm so jealous of you right now.
Talk, I know.
What are you guys doing up there? What kind of retreat? Like what's going on?
It's a little bit of a detox retreat, a health retreat, and a spiritual retreat, and an emotional retreat at the same time. So it's kind of to reconnect. I often find that I used to not take a lot of time off for myself, but with this kind of work, I feel like I need to take time off before the need for time off comes. So I'm really good at self-care. So I'm here. I'm here for 2 weeks, which is amazing. It's just such a gift.
Mm. Where are you at? What mountains are you in?
So I'm actually in Brazil, and I am in Rio, in the state of Rio.
Okay.
So it's in the mountains, a couple of hours from downtown Rio.
So where's your practice at?
So my practice is online. It's been online for a long time because I live between Brazil and India and the US.
Oh, man,
So
I'm so jealous of you right now.
I hear that a lot.
Oh,
And in between travels here and there, that's not happening too much now. Although I did fly from India to the US to Brazil last year, so it still somehow happened. But
so what's your background? Like, where did you grow up? Like, what was your childhood like?
I was born in Brazil, in São Paulo, and I actually was born into like a healing family. My parents, my father was a medium, and my mom was starting to train as a healer, and I grew up in a healing community. So I was really exposed to spirituality and um, God and reincarnation and life paths and journeys from very early on. I feel really, really lucky on that. And I was a really spiritual kid, even without that. So I was really extra lucky that I had that to support me. Because I think a lot of people have that is when they're children and they don't really have a parent or a person to support them. And I was really lucky that I did. So yeah, I grew up in that, and then just kind of living a regular life too. I was always very active. I was always an athlete, and I always loved nature. So I hiked a lot, and I camped a lot, and I was always very interested in a lot of different things. I think that's why I continue to just go in different places of the world. I think it's in my soul.
Oh, I'm sure you have an old, wise soul.
I
Um,
don't know.
so you said your dad.
Sometimes I feel like I do, and sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh. There is so far to go still.
So you're a healer, and like you said, your practice is online. How do you help heal? Like, what does that look like? Is it a meditation? What does that look like?
So it's a connection. So I usually speak to people at first, seeing where they're at, where they're coming from, because usually when we describe our issues, whether it's a health issue or a life issue or a situational issue, every time we connect with something, the energy starts moving. So I start connecting with that as they're sharing themselves with me. And then when it kind of feels complete, we go into the deeper healing when I really allow the channeled energy to come through. And that means connecting more with my higher self, their or my superior self, their superior self, their guides, their life path. I really allow myself to become a channel for what's meant to come to them. And that can look like working on specific chakras and levels of the energy field, or traumas, or past lives, or relational cords with people. It can take a whole array of differences, and it usually involves multiple of those things at once. Nothing is one specific thing that you work on and then you're done. And the goal for me is always to get each person to a point where they can walk on their own. So to get their energy field strong enough, again, that they can process life that comes to them without needing my help or a healer to be doing that for them. Because what you're basically doing as a healer is holding a really positive, energized, healthy container for somebody that doesn't have that at that point. And you're holding a template for their energy field to become that again, because we're all that, right? We kind of get lost along the way. So the goal is always for people to be able to then process life and walk on their own.
Mm.
Uh, and the true healing, I always feel like it's helping people really find themselves, like come back to their souls. you know uh, we start with an issue, a complaint, and then when I continue working with people, the goal is always to help them connect with their soul again. What is their soul saying that I'm never going to be able to know? Nobody else is going to know. They're going to know. So helping them get in touch with that, so their life can flow more effortlessly.
Mm. Getting in touch with that soul. Yeah, because I think, especially in the States, in the Western world, we're a little bit too busy. I mean, even during the pandemic, at first it was very shocking. We were in survival mode and we were trying to figure this thing out. But as it progressed down the timeline,
Right.
people got very exhausted from it and they were looking for things to do. Like, it was like, yes, we had a great time of peace with ourselves, right? Like, with our
Yes.
families, and we got to sit alone and sit with our families and get to know them. But then we were like, all right, well, I need something else to do. And we got
Yes.
antsy again, right? And now we're starting to see more of us coming out of this with the vaccinations, and people are starting to pick back up in their daily routines again. And I don't necessarily like want to get out of it, to be honest with you. Like,
Mhm.
I enjoy my meditations. I enjoy the slow pace a little bit more.
Yes.
I love being able to connect with my higher self. I don't get to connect with myself. Everybody thinks that you go to meditation and you connect with your higher self. It's not, in my personal opinion. I don't connect every day. Like, it's tough, right? Like, I'm a human being. Like, I have days that I can get up and feel like I have great visions, and then there's days I get up, I can barely hold a thought. Like,
Absolutely.
um, I love your work as a healer. I think it's important because the body, like, I've been exposed to so many different types of therapies just through this
Mhm.
show, like energetic,
I bet.
like,
Yeah.
therapies where people are using like vibrations, like tuning forks to find out energy that has been stuck since you're a child, that's been surrounding your body, like I never thought about before. Or I'm
Yes.
sure you've heard of that, right? Like,
Absolutely.
do you do that type of therapy as well? Like, have you experienced that therapy at all?
With the tuning forks or with
Yeah,
these
with
energies?
anything like that. Like, I'm very new to this, so I'm sorry if my verbiage is off a little bit, but
No problem. Yeah, I think they're all tools. So the baseline is that the energy field has a certain frequency, and each chakra has a certain frequency, and each level of the energy field has a certain frequency. So a tuning fork is a tool that can help you get in touch with that frequency, or a singing bowl, or the
mm,
voice. Some people do singing, as healing. So they're all tools. Like some people use the pendulum to read a chakra, to see it's clockwise, it's counterclockwise, it's elliptical, and all of that. They're all tools. Ultimately, we don't need those. Like the goal is really, if you're really connected to yourself, to the other person, and to the energy, you don't need those tools. So we go back to this energetic connection, which is our true way of connecting. Like when you think of somebody and the person calls you, like you didn't have a tool there. That was true energetic connection right there. That's what that's what I love. That's what the true healing work for me is. Not that the other things are not true healing works, they are also. And I think each person needs to use whatever feels comfortable to them, as long as there is the same result at the end. For me, those things get in the way because I get distracted. I like to close my eyes and just allow things to happen. If I'm focusing on a tuning fork or something, then I'm focusing on that, and I personally lose connection with my deeper self. Most of the time when I do sessions, I don't even do videos. We just do voice. Because if you're doing videos, you're looking at the person, you're kind of trying to see how you look and do I look okay, and right, and all of that. So I took that out, and it goes much deeper because it brings us, the deeper we go in touch with ourselves, the less distractions we have around us, the more we get in touch with our true selves.
Sure. I didn't know what the heart chakra was until I went to a friend's, Paul Selig. I went to one of his events, and he channels, and like my heart was like on fire, like it was like vibrating. Like I didn't know what that was. I was like turned to my wife, and I was like, I don't know what is going on, but this area here is like lit up. And that's when I was introduced to like the chakras and aligning my energy. And it's interesting, like some of the ailments that you can have in your body when your chakras are not fully aligned or blocked. Or what do you typically see a pattern, and especially now, like certain chakras to certain ailments, like that are especially related to the pandemic?
Yes, well, the pandemic is causing a lot of fear, right? So fear usually relates to the third chakra, which is the solar plexus chakra, and the first chakra. So the third chakra has to do with how we relate to the world, how the world relates back to us. And the first chakra has to do with safety. So those two chakras are really affected because there's no safety really right now. Nobody knows. None of us knows what's coming. It's still, I mean, there's never really safety, but before we had a false sense of safety,
Mm.
at least. Now it's kind of like the universe said, okay, let's really teach you the lesson here that there really is no safety. You got to find it within yourself. And it created this chaos, for us. So the first chakra is getting affected in the third chakra, which creates lack of sleep. There's a lot of insomnia, there's anxiety, there's depression, because first chakra is life force. So when we are scared, if we close the first chakra or diminish the flow of the first chakra, we're diminishing the energy flow to our bodies, right? The main connection is to the grounding, to the earth. All our chakras take in energy, but the first chakra is major. So if you're closing that off because you're a little bit more scared, we're really kind of messing everything up. So then it depends on the person, because if somebody has, let's say, a little bit of a weaker heart chakra for whatever reason, they've had traumas with the heart, with love, with relationships, with family, then they're going to be affected there. If somebody had a weaker throat chakra because of not being able to express themselves or release, they're going to have trouble there. So then it affects each one of our most vulnerable areas.
Mm. How do you clear that first chakra, like the base? Like, how do you, what is it? I guess I don't want to say easy technique. I guess it's not all easy, but like, as
Right.
somebody listening to this right now that is interested in this, like, what is a method that they could practice?
Yeah, so a really simple thing, the thing that will help us always the most is intention. So even more than like knowing how to spin a chakra or not spin a chakra. So I always say to my clients, like, bring your intention to the first chakra. And the first chakra is like, if this is your legs, like the first chakra sits like right here. It faces down and it connects into the earth, right? So imagine the first chakra, which is nice and red, on the first on the colored levels of the energy field, and imagine that it's connected to the earth. and then feel the connection, invite safety in, imagine that you're feeling safer, invite the safety of the earth to connect. It's really about intending. So I want to feel safe, so my intention goes towards feeling safe. And you can do that, you can do that at home if you feel safe at home. If you don't feel safe at home, then go outside, go to the beach, go to the park, go to walk on the streets. Find a place where you feel safe, and you can even imagine your feet growing roots into the ground, your legs feeling really supported. This might sound like basic techniques, but they're super powerful. They're what I use when I need to feel safer. And the transformation is almost immediate, because our natural way is to connect to the earth, is to feel safe, is to be connected. Our natural way is not to be scared. So when we bring our attention to our natural way of being, it connects. And the more we do it, the stronger it connects. Right? It's kind of like we talked about meditation. One day you connect more, one day less. But if you do it every day, it's always there. Somehow you're always connected to yourself. Right? So it's the same with grounding. One day you're going to feel safer, one day less safe, but keep doing it, because there's going to be a baseline there.
Do you have like um audio on your website, like meditations of this grounding techniques? Do you sell those?
It's so funny. I'm actually in the process of creating them now. I've actually noticed that it's such a big need, especially during this pandemic. And many of my clients, they say, "Oh, I go watch you on YouTube because I can hear your voice, because it's so calming and grounding." So I'm getting that done on my website very
Yeah, you
soon.
have a very powerful voice, or a very soothing voice as well. And I think that people need to hear that. Like I would listen to that. Like if I was in a safe setting or a place that, I felt grounded, like I would listen to that. I mean, for sure. Like I just feel like you could, you can definitely help out a lot of people by doing that.
Yeah, thank you. And it's all in the vibration too. So that's again like the work of a healer. So right now I'm grounded. I'm prepared, I'm grounded, I'm here with you. So my voice and my transmits my presence and transmits the vibration that I'm holding, and then you feel it.
Well, can you read people's energy by just looking at them? Can you do that? Is that the type of gift that you have, or is it you have to feel their vibration?
I usually, so it was kind of like a process. So when I was a child and a teenager, my ability to read people's energies and people's minds and people's futures was insane. But it made my life very disturbing, because I never had peace. Like I always was connecting with something. So I learned to shut it down, or kind of put a boundary on it, and only really connect when I'm working. So when the person is giving me permission and when I'm working with them, because I also don't find it ethical to be reading people's energy fields just
Sure.
without their permissions, because it's their privacy, it's who they
Sure.
are. But you can't help it. If somebody comes and there's something really having them, I feel it. Or if somebody's really anxious, I feel it. But I don't read them. I only do that if I'm really working with somebody.
So you can see futures, and I mean, so did you get that from your dad?
Know if I got that. I probably got some of that from my dad. We used to play a lot, my dad and I, like psychic games. Like I don't know, he would get like a deck of cards, and I would sit in front of him and he would hold a deck of cards and he would be like, which card is this? What card is this? What card is this? What card is this? So he would help train me and develop my ability. Or we would. Or we would need to find an object, and we would connect with the energy of that object and trace to where it was. So he really helped me a lot. But I think from what I hear, my parents and my family say that I had that from very, very, very young, that I was saying things and seeing things and doing things that they didn't even know how to deal with. They had to
Mhm.
get help in how to help me have space to be myself.
What were you seeing? Like, friends on the other side, that kind of stuff? Like, or was it
I
visions?
saw a lot of friends on the other side. It was it was too much. A lot of the times I had out of body experiences very often, and I sometimes I did see people's futures, which I don't like that, and I never did like that. Or I would, my premonitions were very strong, and or I would know that people were sick, or I just had a lot of knowing. There was a lot of knowing, but it was a lot of responsibility. It was okay to a certain extent, but I felt really responsible. And when I was really young, like 10 or 11 or 12, people started, like the parents of my friends started hearing about it, and they started coming to me asking about their marriages and their lives, or their loved one that was really sick. And I would talk to them, but it felt like a lot. It was a lot of responsibility, and it also was getting a little bit in the way of my life, because the energy that was coming through me and out of me was so much that I would like walk in a room, and some like plant would fly out of the table and just like smash itself somewhere. Or I would like go to sleep, and I had a lot of rings when I was a teenager. I would put my rings on the nightstand, and the next day I would wake up and they were all contorted and twisted, and from there on, like I was wearing a hat and the hat would disappear from my head and would show up somewhere else. Or it was crazy, crazy stuff that was fun, but then not fun, because
Yeah, well, I don't know. I'd freak out a little bit, right? Like,
yeah. Well, I was kind of like, I didn't freak out, but I was more because I kind of knew what was happening. Because I was in the healers community, I knew that people that had healing abilities, especially for physical healing, had a lot of extra, they called it that time ectoplasm, like
mm,
extra, a certain energy that could create physical movement. So I knew that that's probably what was going on. But so I started praying a lot for things to stop, for my vision to stop seeing spirits, for things to just slow down. And they did. They slowed down a lot. They never went away, but they slowed down a lot. And then I learned to control it more. And now it's quite under control, thankfully.
that's so amazing. Like, that's so great. I guess because we all want some kind of superpower, right? Like we all want to be like superheroes. We want to be able to fly, like out of body experiences. We want to be
Yeah,
able to see the future, fortune tell. We want to be able to
sure.
do all these things and be powerful, move objects. I mean, you're living the dream.
I'm living the dream. I'm gonna tell myself that every day.
You're
I'm
living
living
the dream.
the dream.
Where did you go for the out of body experiences?
I used to have them when I was asleep, but I would wake up and I wasn't in my body. I would be flying around somewhere. And then in the beginning, I used to freak out. And what would happen was that my spirit would go and like land in bed, land in my body. And then I became more comfortable with it. But it happened a lot. But at other times when my spirit couldn't get out of my body, I used to sleepwalk a lot. So that wasn't as much fun for my family, especially. I think my spirit wanted to get out, but couldn't quite do
Yeah,
it.
yeah. What
But
about past life regressions? Have you done those?
yes, I've done those. I've done those for myself. I do tap into that in my healing work with clients at times, but I'm quite careful with that, because I find that I feel like if we forgot it, there's a reason. So we got to be a little careful with how much we dig, because we have a most people, when they want to do past life regressions, they we all want to see something really great about ourselves, or something nice that happened. And the truth is, we all have done horrible things at lives where we were not as aware, not as conscious. And so I'm cautious, because it has a really strong impact. And also, when you touch a past life, you bring that energy. So if I'm touching a past life with a client, I'm responsible for then dealing with that energy. Me as the healer, I'm responsible for that energy, incorporating the healing into this energy, and then integrating so the person can stay in this life again. It's very complex.
Sure. No, people get addicted to that, right? Like they
They
get
get
addicted to
addicted to it.
the idea of living like it's almost like a version of escapism where they want to be there or finding out more about what they did, right? Like you think that you know were Cleopatra or you were Einstein or whatever. Like you want to have these experiences where you were a king, like or a knight or queen or
Exactly.
whatever, you know,
Exactly.
and
Or
then
you don't want
sometimes
to be like a murderer or a
yeah,
thief
and then you
or
find out you're a murderer or a thief, and now that it just kills you, right? Like it just
exactly.
like
Well, and even if you find out you were a king, then what do you do? What does your
what if you're a
ego?
bad king?
What if you're a bad king? Exactly. Like, what do you do? I feel like we have so much on our hands just dealing with this lifetime. So I usually deal with what's here. Sometimes when I feel guidance or my guides, take me because everything is in our energy fields. All of our past lives is in our energy fields. All of everything is in there. So when I'm guided there, I go. But it's very rare that there are actually images. There's usually a feeling of like, okay, it feels like you already went through something like this in a past life that went something like that. But to me, to my work, I find it important that it's always related to a purpose. Why are we touching on that? If it's going to serve for the healing now, for understanding, because some people have situations in life that they really cannot explain, they don't understand.
It's very fascinating. Like your work with energy. Like I didn't think that we were all energy.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I mean, we're energy before we are a body. The energy field actually is created, the physical body is molded after the energy field. So it precedes the body. So everything that happens in the body is already happening in the energy field. Everything. I mean, I'm not talking about if you stub your toe or something that happened in the physical, but major things in our lives, including all diseases, it's in the energy field before it reaches the physical body every single time. So taking care of the energy field, I feel like at some point is going to be what everybody's going to be doing. Just like we're sleeping, we're eating, we're breathing, we're drinking water, we're going to be taking care of our energy fields because it's a huge part of what it's really what maintains us healthy for the most part. It's we are a spirit, we are energy. Our bodies are just molded after that temporarily while we're here.
this current world we're in right now.
This current world, exactly. And you're right. I mean, with the reincarnation, everything connects. Everything is connected. It's like what you meet somebody, you feel like you already know them. Or you
Mhm.
meet somebody and you're like, don't like them right away. I mean, there's stuff there. Things are there. Um, so it's all, I mean, it's all extremely fascinating, complex, and wonderful. And the wonderful thing is that there's so much in our reach to do right now to reach this superior self, to reach our true selves, our essence, our happiness. There's so much that we can do. It's we're learning more and more and more about it, and being able to do it more ourselves. So it's an amazing time for personal work and for growth, I find.
Yeah, you get your hands into everything. Like I just love it. Have you ever like transcended like the ego? Have you ever been like a meditation? You're in a retreat now, but have you ever like experienced like those what India talks about like nirvana and those places of enlightenment and that feeling of oneness, emptiness, of Zen? Like have you ever felt those places?
I have felt them. I felt them while on meditation sometimes. The one time I actually mostly felt it was I did have a near death experience one time where I left my body and
It
I
just keeps getting better at this interview. Like this keeps getting better.
Okay, so how many hours do we have? I was talking to somebody earlier today. He's like, you gotta write a book about your life because it's really amazing.
So tell me about the near death experience.
Yeah, so my experience was I was very sick. I had Lyme disease and I got to the very end with Lyme disease. And and my spirit left my body. I knew it was leaving, and I could tell it was leaving. I was feeling it was leaving, and I could see the loved ones coming. I could feel it. I could feel my organs and my breathing slowing down and all of that. And I was like, well, okay, I guess we're dying, And I remembered actually a Buddhist monk that I heard a lecture from once, and he said that Buddhists, they practice what's called conscious dying, and they believe that if you really become, if you don't freak out, even if you stay really present, even with your pain, with whatever is going on, it's much easier for you to transcend on the other side. So I was like, I am gonna die in the best possible way that I'm going to do. So what happened was my energy, my spirits left the body, and instead of being received by the spirits or whatever, it went up, and and I met some beings of light. There were three beings of light. They actually presented themselves as spheres. They were three golden spheres of light. And at that moment, there was no ego. There was a connection with everything. It was like as if I were in the center of the universe, and there were lines of light crossing, and I could sense that each line of light was connected to a situation and a person and a family and a country, and they were all going through everything, and they each carried. I don't know if they were memories or current events, but they each carried something, and at that point, everything made sense. I felt completely peaceful. Nothing, there was no worries, there was no pain, there was no thinking, there was no ego. Everything felt
But
amazing.
did you feel like you were yourself? Like that's what worries me is like when we, and this is something I got to get over. Like if when I die, like will Dre dissolve and like will I have that awareness?
Yeah. No, I felt myself completely. I felt more expanded. I went from this prajna that is molded to being this life to the prajna that has lived everything before. I went into my expanded consciousness, but I was me, even though I felt everything. So my understanding is that we don't merge as in losing who we are, and just not like a drop of water that goes into the ocean and becomes everything. Like I still was me, but I was like right now I feel me. I'm here, right? I'm in more in my ego, I'm in my presence. There I wasn't. I was my consciousness, but it was somehow all connected at the same time.
Mhm. Do you think we feel like you said your collective consciousness of all you ever were? Like, did you have like remembrance of past lives there too, of everything that
I
you've been?
did it there, not in that experience. I more felt almost like as if my wisdom expanded 100-fold. My knowing expanded.
Did you bring anything back? Like, did you besides that? Like, did you bring anything back with you as far as knowing like the universal, whatever wisdom that was given to you, like the theory of relativity?
I don't think I would want that, but so I didn't come back with that. But what I brought back that's still in me is that feeling. It changed me forever. Like that peace that I felt, I still feel. Not the same way, but it's in here. That feeling of connection is still here. Like that connecting with those beings that we didn't speak. I mean, they were balls of light. I didn't even see what there was. We connected through. I don't even want to say it was through thoughts, because I don't think it was through thinking. I think it was a vibration. That feeling I still have. So I feel like that's the gift that I came back with. And I truly feel that that's a lot of what all of us are in the process of connecting with more. So I feel like I came back with that gift so that I can help impart that. Because if I hold that vibration, like I was saying, the healer holds the template for the person, right? So if I have this in me, then if you're hearing me, you're feeling that somehow. If I'm working with somebody, they're feeling that somehow. And I feel that that's a big reason why I went and I came back, so that I could truly remember that myself and bring it back to help others remember here also.
Would after you saw the spheres, Did you hear anything like, this isn't your time, go back? Like, how did you get back to the body?
It was actually the opposite. I said, listen, it's not my time. I'm too young.
Oh, that's funny. That's hilarious.
And they at first they said no, it's your time, like your body has reached the point that it's done. I forget exactly what they said, and I said, and I accepted it, but there was part of me that felt it wasn't my time. I said, and I kept saying to them, I'm really young. I have so much life ahead of me. I'm a healer. I have so many people that I can help. I can still reach so many people. Please allow me to go back. And they said no a few times. And then I asked, but I was really asking from my heart. I said, I just really need to go back. There's so much work and so much to help, so much to be, so much to learn, everything, you know? And they kind of had, which this is my interpretation. So I feel like they had a conference somehow. And one of them left and kind of had a conference somehow, somewhere. And I could sense it, but I couldn't feel it. And he came back. And then he got the permission somehow for me to come back. And but basically I was going to reincarnate in the same body, but it was going to be different, which I still don't know what that means really exactly. And he said, you know, the condition is that anytime uh, you have to say yes to your work and to your healing work from now on every time,
Hmm.
because I had said no many times in the past, in different things. And he said, you can't say no anymore. You have to say yes, and your life will maintain. And I thought about it, and I knew it was a big deal because I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know what the yeses were going to be for. And I said, okay. And when I said, okay, it was like this, and then I woke up. And then, you know, slowly it was a recovery time, but that's what happened. So here I am. So people like you say, hey, would you like to be interviewed? And I say, yes.
So is that what the yes is? Is that what you have to say yes to? Like
Well,
anything like
I
that?
feel like, you know, I have the opportunity of being back here, and I asked to be back here for work, for healing work, for really, you know, being the best I can be and helping others the best I can possibly help. So I do, and that is what I always wanted to do. I want to. I love working as a healer, being this channel. I love what I have the opportunity to do. So I truly want to make the best use of this body, this life, and this time here again for that, in whatever way it shows up,
Oh, that's
whatever
amazing.
way.
Did it feel like a dream state at all? Like, did you feel like, how we dream, like, especially if you're lucid in a dream, like it just, did it feel like that? Or was it like, how did that feel, that reality, or I guess different consciousness when you left your body?
It felt very real to me because I think when I left and I went to that consciousness, that is the real me. So I was back to being the real me. So it felt very real. And I felt very comfortable. Like I was like, wow, I died, right? And they're like, yes. And I was talking with them, and it was real. It was what was the most real. This doesn't feel very real to me
Really?
sometimes. Yes.
This is crazy to me because I look around and I'm like, man, it's pretty real to me.
I well, for me, it's pretty real, but like for me, sometimes I'm like driving and I'm like, oh, this is so frustrating. It takes so long to get from one place to the other, and it's so encapsulating. And I've always had this. I have these memories of being able to move really fast from one place to another. And so this reality to me feels very unreal.
Mm.
I most of the time I adapt to being here. I don't feel like this, but at times, like right now that I'm describing this to you and I'm looking around this room, I'm like, oh my God, this is so constricted. So I
What did
go
that
back and
what did that
forth.
expansion feel like when you were out of the body? What did it feel like?
It felt, I don't know, it felt like oneness, but not oneness in the sense that you disappear. It felt like I could connect with everything. It felt like everything was there and I was there and I was a part of everything. It's very hard to explain, or
Sure.
it's hard to put into words because we don't have that here. There's nothing in this reality that really I can say, oh, it's kind of like when you feel this. It's not like anything, not even the meditations that I felt. It was because the meditations, when I feel that expanded consciousness, I'm still somehow here. And at that point, I wasn't. So I was there. So I was back to being me. So it felt really real, but very peaceful. It was like there were no sounds. It was very quiet, but there were all of this there was all this information that was coming from everywhere, but it didn't bother me because that's how it was there. And the conversations that we were having were it was probably like the speed of light, uh, but it was like I'm talking to you, but it probably happened within a second. Um, it's just so it
And
was.
you were probably a sphere too, right? I mean, like just think about that. Like we think
I don't know what I was. You know what? Nobody ever never asked me this, and I've never thought of this. I don't know what I was. I definitely wasn't a body. I was. I just remember. I don't know what I was actually. I just remember looking at them and saying, "Wow, they're spears."
but isn't it nuts though? Like when the only time I get to when I dream and I've had very vivid dreams and it's like you think if you think that's real when you're dreaming. Like
Yes,
you think that's real and then you wake up and you're like, "Oh man, it was a dream." But in the dream, you think you don't even realize you're dreaming. It's weird.
exactly. It's so weird. And then I wonder, was that not real? Like maybe you're getting in touch with something that was real right there, and that's why it feels so real. That's why I love it because it's all so complex. It's also it fascinates me. It's something that I feel like I mean I've been doing this for I think it's like 23 years now, and it's I'm still learning all the time. Like there's sometimes I'm in a healing and the guys guide me to do something that I've never done. I'm like, I don't even know what this is, but okay. And so there's so much more than we understand, but that's what's so amazing about this, right? Because we can talk and come up with all these questions, and some of them we'll have answers for, and some of them we won't now. And but it's incredible, all of it.
I would love to like have a reading or a session with you just to experience that, just to see what
Yeah,
it's like. Like
yeah,
I think it'd be
absolutely.
amazing. How can people find more out about you?
So my website is the easiest way. So it's prajnaavalon.com. So it's easy. So Prajna, as it's written here, avalon.com. Um, and then read a little bit there, get in touch with me. There's some YouTube videos that are of other interviews that I've done like this. Um, and then we go from there. I always I always have asked my guys to bring to me the right people that would have this the right frequency for us to work together, because
Mhm.
not everybody's for everybody. Just kind of like, you know, I didn't like all the teachers I had in school. I vibed with ones more than I vibed with others. And it's the same for healers. It's important to find a person that you really feel safe with and comfortable with, and that kind of touches something in you. And if if anybody feels like that, then absolutely, my arms are wide open. They're wide open.
You got to say yes, right? I mean, that's
I
the
gotta say yes, and that's the condition. And I gotta say yes. To me, it's very sacred when somebody comes because they really open themselves. Some people a little bit more than others, but it's a sacred connection. So I take it as a real honor to do each healing. So I do. I really love it. I have such gratitude. Sometimes I finish working and I have tears just like streaming down my face because I feel such deep gratitude to be able to be part of people's lives like that. So
beautiful.
yeah,
Mm.
if anybody that's really truly wanting to find themselves and heal in whatever way, and if I can do anything to help, what an amazing opportunity, right? What an amazing gift to be able to do that.
Mm. Well, I was going to ask you what your legacy is, but I think you basically just said it there. What an opportunity, like a gift to be able to experience that. Thank you
Yes.
so much for taking the time to come on the show. This has been amazing. I love just being around you and your energy. This has been awesome.
Thank you. It's been so wonderful. It just flew by, and what a great conversation. It was like we're sitting on a bench in a park or something talking. I love it. Wonderful connection. Thank you.